The ego's greatest trick: convincing you it's not you. This is one of the hardest ideas to crack, one of the most difficult truths to accept in A Course in Miracles. Not because it's complex, but because it threatens everything you think you are. See, people think the ego is just a part of them. They say things like, "He has a big ego. Leave your ego at the door. That's just his ego talking." But here's the thing. The ego has even hijacked the definition of what the ego is. It has convinced you that it's just an attitude, just arrogance, just a thing you can turn off or tone down. But that's the ego's greatest trick, hiding in plain sight. You are the ego until you wake up to the fact that you're not. The ego isn't just your pride. It's not just your self-importance. The ego is the entire identity you believe yourself to be. Your name, your history, your personality, your strengths and weaknesses, your beliefs, your accomplishments, your failures, your body. All of it. Everything that makes up you in this world. That's the ego. And if that's true, then here's the uncomfortable question. If the ego is the totality of what you believe yourself to be, then who are you really? The ego fears the answer to that question. Because the answer is, you are not that. You are not your story. You are not your personality. You are not your bank account, your house, your reputation. You are not your past. You are not even your body. And that's where people get stuck, because if all of that is just projection, if all of that is illusion, then what's left? The mind resists this realization because it feels like a kind of death. But here's the irony. The ego is what dies. The real you, the truth of what you are, that was never born, never changed, and never left. The ego's 30-year job for a gold pen. It's like working 30 years at a job, and at the end of it, they give you a golden pen. You mean to tell me I spent 30 years and all I get is a pen? That's exactly how the ego works. You invest your whole life into this identity. You fight to maintain the illusion. You struggle to be someone. You fear losing what you've built, and then, in the end, it was never real. That's the golden pen. That's the moment you realize none of it mattered the way you thought it did. Not because life is meaningless, but because you were never the thing you thought you were in the first place. And the sooner you see that, the sooner you stop playing small. So now what? So if the ego is the whole false self, if everything you thought was you isn't you, then how do you move forward? First, you stop trying to fix the ego. You stop trying to make the illusion better. You stop clinging to the idea that the answer is somewhere inside the dream. Instead, you start asking, who am I beyond all of this? What is left when all these identities fall away? What exists beyond my thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions? And when you sit with that, not just intellectually but deeply, you start to remember, not in words, not in thoughts, but in direct experience. And once that experience happens, the ego can no longer convince you it's all there is.